We're back.
But your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, your name, it stands above them all.
You know, a wise man once told me, good things come to those who wait.
And the angels cry, holy, all creation cries. You sing it.
Welcome back, guys. It's been about a year since the last Wing video I've uploaded, and I am so excited to share with you what I've been working on. When I released that video, I was operating on Wing Firmware 1.12, and what that offered was good at the time, but what they've been able to implement with the brand new 2.0 firmware is actually a lot better, and I'm excited to show you the changes that I've made to it. Along with this video introducing this new template, I'm excited to announce that this template is available for you. You can head on over to my website to see exactly what's included in this package, but it's everything from the entire template to channel strips that I'm using, effects routing that I'm using, and more. For today, I'm gonna try to quickly break down every part of the template from channel inputs all the way through buses in the master bus. I have a new set of stems that we're gonna be working with, and I'm really excited to show you guys. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into just listening through some of the stems. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the drums. We are gonna start with kick. We have two kick mics. We've got an internal mic and an out mic. The inside mic is a Shure Beta 91. It's like a flat condenser mic that really helps capture the brightness of the kick. And I'll show you kind of what we're working with. First it starts with a gate. So you're already hearing the gate working, just trying to eliminate as much of the rest of the kit as possible. And we can see some pretty scooped lows. just like I said, to give those lows to the outside mic, and then when we blend them in, I'll go ahead and bring in the out mic. The out mic also has gating on it. Right now I'm using this SSL channel strip EQ. It just gives it that vintage color and has really wide bands of EQ. On the out mic, we're also using this SPL style wave designer, which is like a transient designer to help. If you saw the last video, you know what this does. Basically, you can really shape the transient of your drums. And so if your kick drum has like a lot of sustain, like ours does, I'm actually taming that sustain with the sustain knob and drawing it back a little bit to help it punch and not be so elongated. I'm also using an effect rack for this. This is a frequency exciter type thing, but it's really only working in the low frequency band. I have it set to 55 hertz right now, but what it's doing is helping bring in the sub low in. I'll toggle that so you can hear the difference. So with it on, off. So the lows are still there, but it's just that sub punch that I'm looking for. Having that on really helps. Let me take a second to talk about delay compensation on this console. When you're using effects racks, it's inherently gonna add more time to that channel, especially if you're sending that channel to an entirely new rack and then kind of inserting it back into the channel. It's just gonna add time. That's just the way that computing works. And so whenever you have a insert on one channel, but you're also using the rest of the channels simultaneously, you're gonna have phase issues if you don't delay the time of the rest of the channel. So what I mean by that is with this console, you can add delay per channel. You can do it by meters, feet, milliseconds, or samples. And so right now I have it set to samples because it's just the most fine way to dial in the time. And we're working in 48K, so having the availability to do this really will make a difference. So what I've done is I've calculated already that adding a insert onto your channel will add about 28 samples to the time of it. So in order to get all of the rest of the channels lined back up with it, you need to add 28 samples. So in order to do that, you go to all the channels that don't have your insert on, and you go ahead and turn on your delay, and then you set your delay time. So all that's doing is just delaying the input of that channel to align with what you calculated for your insert. So long explanation, but that's gonna make or break the way your drums sound, and they'll start sounding phasey, and that's what you need to do. So moving on to snare, everybody's favorite part. It's a Ludwig Black Beauty 6.5 by 14 snare, and we just have it dialed. I mean, it's all about the tuning primarily. I could tell you all about the channel strip, but at the end of the day, it's all about the source. And so making sure you've got a good tech who knows how to tune, knows the kind of tone that they're looking for, and can achieve that without any microphones, that's your starting point. So, but moving into the processing, EQ, we have a distressor emulation, compressing a little bit, 3-to-1, really light on just the big peaks. And then we have another transient designer. This time it's pushing the attack instead of the sustain, so it's giving extra crack. Moving on to the bottom mic. This is where you get all the life out of the snare, especially on like the ghost notes. All the character out of the snare is coming from the strains on the bottom of the snare. So when you have the nice crack from the top, you need something to supplement in order to get the rest of the snare. And so miking the bottom of it in line with the strainers is gonna help that. Low cut, some mid scoop, a little light compression. Here's both of the mics together. Some reverb, I'll turn that off. Moving on. Rack tom. Toms are finicky because they are the biggest culprit of cymbal bleed. So gating these is a must. This is going to be different for your application, so make sure you dial in your gains right, and then you can set your gains by fine-tuning when the tom hits, when everything else is hitting, find that threshold. Some EQ here. We pan them a little bit. Here's the other floor tom. On the day of recording, there was some weird rattling on the floor tom, so you can actually hear that. It just didn't get caught, and that's just, you know, we move on. Try to make the best of what you have. Same thing, just some gating and a little bit of EQ. Overheads. Pretty simple stuff for the overheads. Pull out the low end. A little light compression, but you can see here with this key source right here, the compressor is side chaining to the snare. So it's getting its key source from the snare channel. So every time the snare hits, that's where the compressor will actually engage. All right, let's hit all the drums together. Sweet. Moving on, we'll talk about the buses for all that later. So just keep in mind that the drums are getting extra processing down the line. And we'll get that later. We got a drum pad channel from the Perc guy. Let me find a section. It's a line out signal, so just making sure that you're not clipping. You shouldn't have to do any EQ or compression to it. I think there's a bass drop in here, so there you go. You should know what to do with your own. It's not easy. I mean, it's not hard. Just plug it in and you're good to go. Perc channel. Low cut. Adds just extra percussive texture. Here's the drums in. Sweet. All right, moving on to bass. It's the most intense part of the song, so the bass has a octave pedal on with a bunch of drive. Some corrective EQ. Hard compression to keep it solid. I also have that the bass exciter back on here to add extra harmonics, extra low end, and beefiness. Moving on to guitars. Let's start with the acoustic because I'm actually really proud of the acoustic. We've upgraded. We put a new pickup and a new guitar. It's the K&K Trinity pickup mic combo. So it's really cool. You install a microphone inside of it, and then there's also a pickup. And what you can do is blend the two with a preamp that they give you, and it just gives you so much more flexibility on tone, when you need what, and it just sounds incredible. So let's start with the mic section of it. Some corrective EQ, a dynamic EQ on the high end to just control that pick attack, and another compressor. Here's the pickup. Yeah. It's still good, but it's just not as good as the mic. But watch when we start to blend the two. That sounds good to me. Sweet. Moving to electrics. We have 2 electric guitars running in stereo, and something different about the scene from last time is we've split up the stereo channels into 2 mono channels that are panned. Shout out my friend Brady Langdon to tell me this technique on basically you're losing your signal. You can break this down for a second. Say you have a stereo channel that's linked. Your gains are linked. It auto pans for you and then gives you one pan knob to work with. That pan knob does not work the way you think it works. What it does is it eliminates the signal from one side when you start to pan to the other. And so you're actually losing information that you want to keep, you just want to turn down. So what you do when you break it up into 2 mono signals and you pan them, the way that you can get your stereo panning is just by pulling down the fader on one side. And that way you don't lose information, you're just pulling down the level for that side. And so I'll show it to you what I mean. So here's EG1. So instead of the pan knob just like removing the information as you, or summing it in a way, when you pull down one side, it'll actually pan in the right way. So that's why we do it that way. For the electric guitars, they're already heavily processed with pedals, and so we shouldn't have to do a whole lot. Just making them fit better together with EQ rather than trying to change the way they sound is all our job is. So we've got a little bit of EQ, and then just a little bit of compression just to glue everything back together. So let me play the other guitar. Now we got a mix. You can just leave that there and call it a day, and we're good to go. We have amazing musicians here, and I don't want to take anything away from that, because the reason it sounds so good is it's so harped on, but that's really the truth. It's all about the source. It's all about what you're feeding into the console. What I'm doing is just putting the icing on the cake. And so really what needs to happen is just heavy investment, heavy training, and getting your team to a place where they're just so gelled, so locked, that your job is so easy. And so let's continue on. Let's move to keys. We've got 2 signals. We have a stereo piano channel and a stereo synth channel. Start with the piano. Super compressed piano, already out of the box. Not a whole lot we have to do to this because it's already so affected. There was a weird frequency in the mid-range here, so took that out. A little more glue compression. Let's move to synth. Same thing. This one has a little more compression on it because that string patch that's in there just tends to get away from it a little bit. So kind of taming that back in is nice. As you're building this mix, especially with these melodic instruments like the guitars and keys, keeping in mind where your vocals are going to sit is really important. We're going to go ahead and hit the vocals so I can show you kind of how I've made space for that. Let's just listen to the vocal by itself.
Holy, our creation cries. You sing it. You are lifted high, holy, holy forever. All God's people sing, hear your people sing, holy.
So before we even talk about signal chain or gain structure or anything like that, we're going to talk about the mic technique that we push and push and push here, is just keeping that microphone in the most consistent place possible. And sometimes people, for me specifically, when I was singing, I like that microphone to touch my lips. I want it so close that there's not going to be any chance of bleed coming through. But for the rest of our vocalists, like, we just try to really push, keeping it within 1 to 2 inches from your mouth and also keeping it in the same spot. Because that affects things like compression, it affects how much bleed is coming through, it affects proximity effect, which is how much bass is being captured by the capsule. So with that being said, mic placement is key. Let's go ahead and talk about the chain for the lead vocalist. We have some EQ here, taking out a lot of the low end. Because the mic is so close, that proximity effect is enhanced, and so you're just getting that sub-low, that super low frequency, especially in the plosives, which are the consonants that push a lot of air. So when you push air into the capsule, it will actually create a big boom sound. So eliminating that with a low cut is how we solve that.
And the angels cry, holy, our creation cries.
Some cutting at 500 and 700 to take out the boxiness of that vocal. Here's the first stage of compression. This is the loudest part of the song, so we're pushing, pretty hefty on the compressor. For the first stage, we want to shoot around 3 to 5 dB of gain reduction. This is the LA2A model, which is an opto compressor. It's slower, so it's going to catch a lot of those long notes. This goes into a 1176 model. This is a faster compressor, so it's going to catch all those really minute details. It's going to really tame it, make it super aggressive sounding, and add some saturation. This is at a 4:1 ratio. The attack and release are set pretty fast too. What people don't always know about this vintage style compressor is that the higher the number, the faster it is. So in other terms of compressors, the lower the number is the milliseconds. So you would think it's faster, but On this compressor specifically, it's flipped. And then it goes into a auto-tune plugin, which is really cool because this console can do live tracking auto-tune pretty well. But the way to change keys on it is interesting. So the way it works is you have a chromatic grid and you exclude the notes you don't want by selecting it in red. So this song is in the key of E, so we have the E major scale active, and everything not in the E major scale is highlighted to be not included into the tuner. With this tuner, I make sure that I have a bypass handy at all times. So we have 4 vocalists here usually, so all 4 channels have a macro controlling just the bypass for each of the auto-tune units. And so at a moment's notice, if I need to change keys or they've changed keys or someone starts talking, I can quickly bypass all of those and turn them back on whenever I need them. This is the signal chain for all the vocals here. It's kind of our go-to strip, and so sometimes we'll change it if there's just something wonky happening with whoever new is singing or whatever microphone we're using. It definitely can change. It's not that we enforce it, but this is just what we found to work really well on most vocals. We can listen to the vocal effects, which kind of make it.
And the angels cry, holy, all creation cries. You sing it. You are lifted high, holy, holy forever. All God's people sing. Hear your people sing. Holy, to the King of Kings. You're holy. You will always be. Can we sing it?
Sweet. So we've made it through all the channels. For this template specifically, I haven't included any of our auxiliary inputs, like maybe a handheld for whoever's speaking or whatever auxiliary music you have from playback or computers or anything like that. For this template, I'll leave it up to you to add in whatever you need and process those. Let's go ahead and move on to our buses. So with this console specifically, you have the availability to pass buses into other buses. So like, for example, if you're running a bus for a wireless IEM, say your worship pastor has a set of wireless in-ears that he uses a bus to control what goes in. It's really cool because the buses act as our effects returns. But it's actually kind of strange the way this console has it, because the first 8 buses are the only ones that are able to receive sends from other buses. So for example, if you wanted vocal reverb in his IEM pack, basically it would have to be from buses 1 to 8 that his pack is located, and then your effects returns would have to operate on the back end, 9 through 16. So that's why I've put all of the instrument and vocal buses that have effects on them at the back of the bus list. So just in case you had a set of IEMs that were ran from buses, you set that up between 1 to 8 in order to get those returns in here. Let's go through the drums again, and I'll show you the bus processing for the drums. So all the drums are patched through a drum dry bus. And so this is getting all of the drums post fader, and there's nothing happening on it. The only thing that I've done is a little trick to correct the time delay with inserts. So I've put an insert on it, but there's no unit or anything active So it's getting that time delay that would be there, but it's not getting affected. Then we have another bus that drums go to. This is the drum smash group. And what this is a parallel drum compressor group. I only have a little bit of drums coming into it. I've got a little bit of the kick mic, I've got all of the snare, and then a little bit of toms. And what this is doing is adding extra heavy compression to the drums, but in a way that I can blend it in. So it's being duplicated into a bus, but we have a distressor plugin on here that's just smashing it 10 to 1. We can listen to it. So it's just getting crushed. Out of that, it's going into a tape saturator plugin, which is just adding gain, harmonics, makes it sound really punchy and helps it cut a lot. And so here's both of them together. So this is just the dry group. And here's blending in that drum smash group. Really cool technique to give your drums so much more life and help them stand out in front of the mix. Next, we're going on to the drum verb. This is like the overall kit verb. Getting the snare, the toms, no kick, no overheads. EQing the return to take off all the lows and some mid scoop there. So next, moving on to the snare verb. This is really cool. It's a gated reverb, so it's got a really short decay, but the verb just kind of comes in and then gates out really quickly. It's a technique they did a lot in the 80s just to get that really big snare sound. Sounds like it's in a huge room, but then it cuts out really quickly. So in a way, it almost sounds like a snare sample, and that's kind of the way that I'm using it. We can just listen to it by itself. This is blended in. Really subtle, but you can definitely hear it's there, and it just adds so much more intensity to the snare. Sweet. Moving on to the vocals. Vocals, kind of same thing. They have their own group, which is so for those groups, none of the channels are passing into the master bus. They're all bypassed and then going into the bus, and the bus is being sent to the master. So the vocal dry group, nothing's happening there.
Creation cries, you sing it. You are lifted high.
Same concept with the parallel compression.
Holy forever, all God's people sing.
Just getting crushed. But again, blended in, it helps the intelligibility, it helps be able to hear the ends of phrases better, and it just overall glues the vocals together.
Holy, holy forever.
Moving on to vocal reverb. This one's nice. This is like a lexicon plate verb type thing. I just have them all sent to one reverb unit just to kind of cover everything that I want. You can definitely play around with multiple reverbs for different things. Short throws, long throws, different types of verbs. This is just one that I found that I like really.
And the angels cry. You are lifted high, holy.
And last but not least, vocal delay. I think this delay is meant to be based off of the Waves H delay. I don't know what this is, but it's just a stereo delay. It's really nice. I have it set to a quarter note on one side and a dotted eighth note on the other side. I also have a macro handy for tap tempo. The two different time signatures in the delay help just give the vocal so much width. It's set, the feedback is set longer too, just for those big vocal throws.
Holy forever, all God's people sing. Hear your people sing. To the King of Kings, you're holy.
So we've made it through our channels, we've made it through our buses. Let's go through our master bus now. Everything gets piped in and it hits a SSL style bus compressor. Really nice, just helping everything glue together. Let's play it. Some light compression happening on that. Then it goes into a multi-band compressor. With the multi-band, it helps me to compress different frequencies at different parameters and add, a very last EQ to the rest of the mix. Then everything goes to a Pultec style EQ. Just kind of cutting out some mids and boosting the high end a little bit.
Your name is the highest. Your name is the greatest. Your name, it stands above.
So with all of this, let's go ahead and play it back through, listen to kind of everything that we've gone through, and have some fun.
Your name is the highest. Your name is the greatest. Your name, it stands above them all. And all thrones and dominions, all powers and possessions. Your name, it stands above them all. Your name.
So there it is, guys, my Wing 2.0 template available on my website now at leebataller.com. You can get all of this in a package with my effects, my tuner presets, as well as the stems that we worked on with profiles for Logic, Pro Tools, and Ableton to be able to play it back for yourself and also use this for whatever you need. Hopefully this blesses you and your church and makes things easier. I hope you've learned something today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Lee Bataller. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I hope the best for you.
Angels cry. All creation cries. You sing it.